to the Putnam County Planning Commission meeting. Before we get started, if anyone missed it, it is posted on the door outside that case number, now I have to find it. PUD 23-00001, the East River Lakes Estates case has been postponed, probably till the next meeting, but we're not positive of that. You will be re-notified if you're here for that case. And I believe there's a representative maybe outside from the design group that may take your name if you want to attend a community meeting at a later date. That being said, we're going to get started. Thank you. This is a public hearing, and we are the Putnam County Planning Commission. We are the designated local planning agency for the county as described under Title 11, Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes, and we function under the authority of Articles 11 and 12 of the Putnam County Land Development Code. The primary responsibility of this commission is to serve as an advisory body to hear and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on matters related to provisions of and proposed amendments to the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code. The members of this committee will review each application and make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners at a regularly scheduled meeting, which will be May 23rd, 2023. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of the staff will then briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will take comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments or statements to the commission and not to other people in the audience. Before speaking, we ask that each person be recognized, come forward to the lectern, and identify his or herself by name and address. After all persons wishing to speak have been heard, we will entertain a motion from the commission. This motion will be voted on by the commission members and become our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners will make the final determination regarding the application. The first case we're going to hear is SD 22-008. But before we start that, our commission attorney is going to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chair, but quite frankly, I don't think that'll be necessary at this time.
You don't? Okay.
No, ma'am, thank you.
And also before we start, I need to ask if any member of this commission has any ex parte communication to disclose on any of the cases we will hear today.
I will to the fourth case.
Okay.
Okay, I've spoken with the applicant, Keith Valentine.
I did as well a few months back, speak with Mr. Valentine.
I did too.
Okay. Is it going to affect your decision-making here today?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Mine either.
Commission members, please don't forget to speak into the microphone so we'll have the record. Into the microphones, please.
I will be recusing myself from the second case, but we will deal with that when it comes time. All right, so SD 22-008.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everyone hear me okay? For the record, Zachary Baker, Planning and Development Services. This is case SD 22-008. This is an application by the applicant, St. John's River Estates, LLC. The agent is Bob Morgan from RGM Engineers. The request is to create a 110-lot Type 1 subdivision, also known as a platted subdivision. The location of this property is northeast of East Buffalo Bluff Road, northwest of the existing Bayou Club residential development. The proposed development encompasses multiple parcels. The main parcel is addressed as 152 Bayou Drive in Satsuma. The proposed subdivision name is Bayou Club 2, also known as River Estates. The subject parcels encompassed with this request are governed by PUD Ordinance 1991-20, which was approved October 22nd, 1991, 2 months prior to the implementation of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan, which established density requirements. Those density requirements are within the PUD ordinance that governs this development. If you review through your staff reports, you'll see that information. The subject parcels equate to approximately 42 acres of land. Most of the land will remain unplatted and count towards the open space and conservation areas required by the PUD ordinance. The parcels to be developed included in the original PUD, which allows primarily single-family residences. Proposed project is a continuation of what has already been approved in 1991. Ordinance 1991 allowed a total of 210 residential lots. 95 have already been platted. The proposed 110 lots is permitted within the associated development agreement. Per the ordinance, the minimum lot size allowed in the community is 4,000 square feet. The smallest lot on the proposed plat is 4,813 square feet. The Development Review Committee has reviewed the preliminary plat under case DRC 22-018 and motioned to forward the request to the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners will be presented a preliminary development order if this project is approved. Once the preliminary development order is issued, the developer will be authorized to move forward with the final plat. On the screens in front of you, you will see the proposed preliminary plat for this subdivision. This is an aerial of the lands to be encompassed by the development. This is the current zoning district indicating it's a planned unit development. The future land use designation, where the residential development will occur, is within entirely the rural residential future land use designation. On the east side of that property, you'll notice that it's all the agriculture future land use designation. That was left as ag to ensure minimal residential density, as wetlands and flood zone are present there. Here you can see the special flood hazard areas. And finally, a map depicting apparent wetlands. It's worth noting that this is just for estimation purposes. A wetland delineation is the only way to determine where and what the extent of wetlands on site are, and the preliminary plat does have a wetland delineation marked on it. The proposed lots adhere to the minimum residential density requirements of Putnam County Comprehensive Plan Policy A193A4B and Policy A193A9B, given that Ordinance 1991-20 established specific density requirements for the subject development. The proposed lots meet and exceed the minimum dimensional requirements for residential lots as stipulated by Article 3, Section 3.4 of Ordinance 1991-20. The proposed lots meet the minimum road frontage requirements stipulated by LDC Section 45-632. The proposed development will be accessed using private rights-of-way to be maintained by the developer. Impacts to East Buffalo Bluff Road will be determined before a final plat is accepted. Drainage improvements will be provided within the proposed subdivision. Findings and recommendation, so bear with me on this one. There's 5 total conditions, but the request is overall consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan. It is compatible with surrounding land uses and zoning designations. It is consistent with the requirements of the Putnam County Land Development Code. Staff is recommending approval of the request for the preliminary plat for 110 unit Bayou Club 2 subdivision expansion, subject to the following conditions. Prior to submitting the final plat, the developer shall amend the development agreement to remove the language regarding the minimum 100 by 150 foot parcel within the Bayou Club 2 utility area and with access to County Road 309B, also known as East Buffalo Bluff Road, that was supposed to be conveyed to Putnam County. And the final plat shall include the proposed upgraded wastewater treatment plant with details as to how the existing and proposed development will be connected to that wastewater treatment plant. The developer shall provide Putnam County Planning and Development Services a copy of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection FDEP permit or permit application, whichever is available, for the proposed upgraded wastewater system to ensure appropriate wastewater capacity is accounted for. Prior to the submittal of the final plat, a traffic study shall be submitted to Putnam County Planning and Development Services to determine if more than 250 vehicles per day will be accessing the development. If so, a right turn lane conforming to Putnam County access standards will be required prior to the final plat approval. And finally, prior to the approval of the final plat, a surety bond compliant with the requirements of LDC Section 45-1043 shall be provided by the developer to the county administrator and held in an account established by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? I'm talking about the board right now. We'll call, you'll get your turn soon. I did have a couple. And it may be better for the applicant, but hang on. There's some I have for applicant, some for you. So on your analysis on page 3, up at the top, it says that the development exceed residential density requirement under the current rural residential. Does the future land use need to be changed in that regard, or is it sufficient, in your opinion, as it is?
So the ordinance itself that governs the development, it established its own density requirements. If you look at the second line in the staff analysis, Article Section 2.4 of Ordinance 1991 establishes a residential density of 3 units per acre. So I don't see any reason to amend the future land use designation because the ordinance is actually the governing document here for this development.
The PUD ordinance?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is the applicant here and would like to speak? Okay. State your name and address, please.
Bob Morgan, RGM Engineers, 65 Lewis Boulevard, St. Augustine. So, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm willing to answer. It's just the main, this is an existing PUD.
Maybe move the microphone closer or something.
Oh, all right, I'll stand close to it. It's an existing PUD, in the lots. We're trying to stay, the owner is very adamant about saving a lot of the trees and trying to keep that rural look. So he's not gonna go in there and clear cut the trees and stuff. So I know that was a concern of some of the people that we've talked to out there during the time. So they're gonna do the best they can to keep all those trees and work within those. So it's all been platted. It's an old subdivision, so. Any questions for me? I'm here.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Not at this time. We may recall.
That's fine.
We may recall you up.
All right, guys.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
So I have a list, a stack of cards for people that want to speak. I'll start with Brenda Murray. When I call your name up, you have 3 minutes, and please state your name and address. Brenda Murray. Okay.
Thank you for allowing me the time to be before you today and to speak to you.
Can you start with your name and address, please, for the
I'm so
record?
sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, Brenda Murray, 106 Pine Lake Drive, Satsuma. And I live in the St. Johns River Estates and belong to the Bayou Club Property Owners Association. And
Can you hold on 1 second?
sure.
Is there a way to make the beeping stop?
Count down instead of up. It says you're over.
Okay, I'm gonna start that over again, and I think I got the beeping off. So, okay.
Do I need to state name and
No,
address?
you're good.
again? Okay. I am just here because our Property Owners Association has been addressed by the developers and allayed any concerns or, told us how they intend to handle the impact of more than double our current capacity. And all of my neighbors have stated to me that they love living there. They love the wildlife. They really enjoy Putnam County's natural look and appreciate it. And I grew up in Daytona Beach, and I appreciate it, even though I'm not from northern climes, because it has not been overdeveloped in Putnam County. You have kept it so that it's a place I want to live that still looks like Florida. And I would love for them to address the Property Owners Association directly and give us, some idea of how they're going to handle the impact of bringing in all this development. It's a quiet community with just a few roads, and all of us enjoy living there, so we really would like to know just what their plans are and intentions are, and especially to water, sewer, and drainage in the area, because those are important. And so I'm just here to mostly express concerns about that, and to see if there's not, we're not just talking pie in the sky here, but they actually have plans in place that will work, so the community is given minimal impact. And we're a bunch of people who really enjoy living in there, and we'd like to see it done right, if at all possible.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Just a note, one of the conditions is for them to upgrade the sewer plant, or the wastewater treatment plant.
It
That is
will
one of
need
the
it.
conditions, because right now it does not have capacity for
No,
this new part of
No.
the development.
yes, and it complains loudly also, the sewer system. And impact on drainage will be important, because we are close to the St. Johns River. We are right on Murphy Creek,
Yeah.
and it's important, for us to be assured about that.
Okay.
All right,
We appreciate comments. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Next, I have the Vanaman. I'm sorry if I butchered that. If you'll state your name and address, please.
My name is Linda Vanneman. As far as I know, I'm the only adjacent property owner outside of the Bayou Club. I was given notice about this meeting. The phone numbers for the people to contact were not operational numbers. I was out of town. I came in yesterday, day before yesterday to the building, and read through 168 pages of paperwork that I was given on the thing, which I thought was really interesting, and I underlined a bunch of stuff. I've never been to a public hearing before. This is my first, and I'm a little bit anxious about it, and I walked off and left my underlined paperwork with all my notes. I called my roommate, and I said, "What I left on the counter, read this to me," and now I can't hardly read it. One of the first things I want to say is that the beginning of their documentation talks about the vacant land, and I want you to know that the adjacent property owner is not a vacant land. That land has been lived on, I know, since the 1900s, but I've owned the property since 2016 or 17. I invested all my retirement savings into moving here and building a home there, and I have carefully gone through and built trails and taken down trees, and when I read their thing, it sounds like a glorious write-up. They talk about buffer zones for incompatible usages around them. Well, their buffer zones are Murphy's Creek, the railroad, a canal, and I guess me. And my question is, what is my buffer zone? Are they going to be required to put a fence up to separate the 6 units that are going to be adjacent to my immediate property? I just wondered what sort of considerations has been taken to hurricane evacuation zones, since all of that will be mobile and manufactured homes, and it's all in a flood zone, in an evacuation zone. I was just wondering if the Planning Commission had considered that. I also, on a different matter, asked the Highway Department, not concerning this, but long before I got this, what the latest development was on the widening of the 4-laning of the road, and were they going to put us in a turn lane? And they said, oh, no, you guys don't need a turn lane. And I said, you know, we've already got problems getting out. And, you know, I sent them some suggestions, but I asked at that time, had the development been spoken to them? And I was told that I was the only comment that they had, so I made sure that they had it in writing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your time has expired,
Yeah,
ma'am,
I'm
but
sorry.
we appreciate your comments. Do you want to address that question, Zach, about the buffering on the side of the neighbor?
So as far as incompatibility buffers go, you've got residential adjacent to residential. That being said, the DRC isn't going to require any incompatibility buffers. There is a requirement for a residential project fence if the developer chooses to put one up. It's got certain design standards, but it's not a requirement, so to speak. The parcels where this development is going to take place, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to probably have about 20 foot of natural vegetation along the north limit of those subdivisions, those lots from the subdivision. So, and as the agent has indicated, their desire is to leave a lot of the native vegetation in place.
Okay, thank you. Next is Sandy Myers. State your name and address, please.
Sandy Myers, 163 Bayou Drive, Satsuma. I'm a resident in this community. Somebody's feeding you misinformation. Your staff is very liberal when they say they recommend this and that is good for the citizens of Putnam County. I'm one of those citizens, and I'm directly affected by this. And nobody ever came to me and asked me if this was good for me or our community. You've got information in here that just isn't true. It says here, the drainage will be accommodated via existing proposed stormwater retention ponds, swales, runoffs, and then it says it will be maintained by the homeowners association established in the subdivision. We never said that. We never agreed to that. I'm not going to maintain a new development. Why would I do that? It's foolish. They're misrepresenting the truth here. And this is part of your staff analysis. We've got roads flooding in northern end of Bayou every storm. We've got a storm drain that is part of this project that they're utilizing that hasn't worked in 20 years. All that water's been running into the Murphy's Creek. They're lying to you. This whole area is forested area. It's going to affect the wildlife in that area as well as the river. Somebody needs to go out there from this board and examine things themselves and talk to the community members that are most affected by this. Because your own staff misrepresents what's going on here. I just don't know what else to say. It's disappointing to find out the staff is recommending that this is good for the citizens when it's not. And just to let you know, I'm a licensed mechanical engineer. I hold a master plumbing license in 4 states. The water and sewer in this plan, first of all, they're not showing an area for a new sewer plant or a new water plant. They're just showing the existing plants, which you don't even issue permits for anymore. They're in such bad shape. I'm on the end of the water loop, and I barely get 20 pounds. I've come to the county and asked for them to do something about it. Nothing. And of course, nothing is why you don't approve it, relicense it. You can't trust this developer. He hasn't included the HOA in these plans or discussed anything with them.
Okay, sir.
And I resent the body language you're giving me, sir.
Sir, your time has
Just so you
expired.
understand.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
So obviously I'm opposed to this, and I urge you to investigate what's really going on here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Anita Gruber. Anita Gruber? Okay. Patty Hutchison? State your name and address to start, please.
Good day. Patty Hutchison, resident 107 Bayou Drive, plus I have been since 1988 in the civil land surveying field. When we moved here, there was a concept plan. Granted, it's a concept plan, but half the units were going to be to the west of the canal and half to the east. So I just was told that everything's going to the west now. And I just heard that this current ordinance is binding. That plat that was shown in the club had storage units, and same ordinance 9.11.5 is saying there is existing storage units and rental units. This current design shows none of that, so how can you get rid of the storage units since this is a binding contract? Utilities, I agree. The sanitary is in poor condition. You have actually mentioned that. Now, the water, too, is in really bad condition. The water calculation, the sanitary calculations are based on water. There is inadequate pressure as it is right now. It's stating that we should have 250 gallons per day per unit. So that would be about 7,500 gallons per month. I'm only using between 8 and 9. Everybody else, it takes about 8 minutes to fill up my washing machine. Other people have put power boosters, pump boosters on their water, so that is inadequate. I see that you have that binding You had written this on your page 3, saying that the water is inadequate, and it needs to be upgraded, but now on your page 5, in your staff recommendations, you are mentioning nothing about water. So how can we have new water coming in and the existing water is not met right now? Plus, the drainage, the sanitary sewer, the current sanitary lift station is inadequate. They had to get pumpers and pumps. A new pump put in, it's like a Band-Aid fix. I want to make sure that whoever is going to make sure that the current is working. And the plats do not have any of the existing manholes nor the existing lift station. So there's a force main going right up against our lift station and it's passing right by a manhole, going into the existing roads. So who is going to pay for the wear and tear of the existing roads for this new development and the tearing up to put sanitary and storm in? There is an existing, what the gentleman over there said, manhole or inlet S7, the grate is rusting and it is constantly full. Who is going to be responsible for upgrading the existing grate, because all the heavy construction traffic, they'll go through it. So I feel, who is going to be paying for the upgrade of the new improvements? That's my main concern too. I don't feel the existing Bayou Club should be paying for new improvements.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Zach, can I ask you, was there any recommendation on the water or a study done on the water system?
The existing water system that's in place is 3 wells that feed into a holding tank. There was no discussion about upgrades to that system. We did a site visit on site with the engineer and the wastewater maintenance company, Twofold, I believe, and they indicated to us that they're operating, within capacity for their water.
Is that okay? Is that something the DRC will? Hey, excuse me. Is that something the DRC will require before the final plat? Any verification of that, or that's already been done, in your opinion?
We can add that as a condition, that they provide us some sort of literature expressing that the water that's on site is either operating within capacity or needs upgrades, and we can make that a requirement before the final plat.
Okay, thank you. Chris Hudson.
My name is Christina Hudson. I live at 141 Lake Margot Drive in Satsuma, in this area that we're talking about. I have a couple of questions that we'd like addressed, and I have a couple of concerns. I think none of us are really here to be obstructionist. We want the best for our community, but we have real concerns about safety, our quality of life where we are, and our economic standard of living. Right now, it's a very affordable place to live, and we're concerned about some of the things that could really increase in price. We would like to know where the construction entrance is going to be. We drive a lot of golf carts. We don't want to see big trucks coming through with trusses and construction materials. We'd also like to have the trip count added, as someone's mentioned, to the intersection of 17 and Buffalo Bluff Drive or Road. There's been a high number of accidents there with some fatalities and a dangerous curve coming out of Satsuma. We would like to know how many more steps the developers have to complete before clearing the lots for the development and what those steps are. I'll reiterate that the water system is not working. We have very poor water pressure. There is often a smell. We need someone to come out, or we need a recommendation from you who to contact to have some serious look at that. We would love for you to come out and look at our area. If you've not been out there, I think you should know where we live. And thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. The
Madam
next
Chair,
part.
can I make a statement quick?
Okay, yes.
I just want to remind everyone that the reason we're here today is to discuss just the creation of lots on a piece of paper. So it's a multi-step process to building out a subdivision. First, you go through the preliminary plat, the step we're at, and then go through the final plat where the Board of County Commissioners says, yes, you can create these 110 additional lots that could be sold. You still have to go through a site work permit to clear and grade. You still have to get all your development permits for the water and the wastewater plant. So this is the very beginning of the process. I just wanted to reiterate that in case the audience wasn't aware.
Okay, thank you, Zach. The next speaker card I have is Tom Boland.
My name is Tom Boylan, live at 170 Lake Margot Drive, Satsuma. I really am proud of all my neighbors on some of the requests and questions they've had. They've answered most of them that I had, but I think to answer the gentleman's question over here, the main reason you hear so much animus is because if you look back some 3 years ago, I was on the board at that time, when our developers came into our board meeting, foul-mouthed, profane, cussing out everybody in the board, letting us know they're going to do it this way if we wanted to or not. That's why there's so much animus, because the developers took it on themselves to do that. They've never provided us with any information. I'm not sure about the board now, but when I was on the board, they never provided us with the information. They just kept saying they're going to do this, going to do that. We never heard anything positive out of them other than just a lot of promises and no action. So all the questions that have been brought up here are very pertinent to why we would want to have things taken a look at, especially the water pressure and the sewage system, because there's been a lot of talk of that for years and years and years. And to my knowledge, nothing is ever said about fixing them. So again, it goes back for me, 3 years when I was on the board, and to be personally cussed out by the owners, okay? So I can tell you that on a personal basis. And things just stopped at that point on their last application. We never heard anything more. This is the first time we've heard anything in about 3 years. So just want the board just to take a look at everything that's being brought up today, questions we have, because they're pertinent questions to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Brenda K. Smith. Tom Gruber.
Good afternoon, my name's Thomas Gruber. I live 118 Pine Lake Drive in Satsuma in the Bayou Club. This fellow over here, he says that he's going to make everything just blend right in with everything we've got. Well, when I purchased in there, my home was already there. It was brand new, and we've been there 13 years, and we own our lots. We are property owners, and that's why we have a POA. Now, the way I understand it, he's not telling you anything about selling these lots. He's telling you in there he may rent them, and they will be members of the property association. So how can you be a member of the property owners association if you don't own the property that your trailer is sitting on? Could you ask him that?
we can ask that question when we would call him up here. Yes, we will.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. The next person I have is Mark Sandoval, or Sandoval. I'm not sure if that's a C or a L.
I'm Mark Sandoval, live at 132 Pine Lake Drive in Satsuma. I only have 3 minutes, so my list of questions probably would exceed that. But a couple of things I noticed this gentleman said, reminded us of the reason that we're here is to, correct me if I'm pleased, to preliminary to get 110 lots through here. But yet if I read this agenda, and this analysis is here concerning recreation area, concerning the wastewater, concerning the drainage. Well, that's all part of what I would consider this meeting before this thing moves ahead to the May 25th. You can see that there's some people concerned here. Our biggest concern, or mine, is this drainage, is this wastewater and sewer treatment plant going to be up and operational before there's approval to this? Not just we plan on building it type thing. We've got over 200 people there right now, and you can hear fire comments that there's great concern concerning that. My second thing is one of our homeowners mentioned the developers. Why is not or should be a letter required from the Property Owners Association that we have met with these individuals and come to this agreement? This expansion of more than 100 homes doubles our size. Roads, ponds, benches, sewer, all of these things, we as a Property Owners Association are well aware of our obligation for maintenance. But yet that maintenance increases, and we need to know how to set assessments. For example, if they place a new road in there, which I think there's 3 new roads, none of that is addressed here other than the 110 homes. Well, what is the quality of that road? We would be expected to maintain that. We think if there's some conversation with the developer, we should say, hey, who is the contractor for this? If that road fails in 6 months, that's a huge cost to these owners to maintain that road. So some of those things have got to be agreed upon between the Property Owners Association and the developer. The drainage, I can't believe that we're going to cut down these trees behind that area A and not expect drainage to be the same and hold in these existing retention ponds. You've heard the water and sewer. That's 400 more people. We're close to now 500 people if that expansion. So we've gone more than double that. So the only thing I'm saying is I would request that it be a stipulation that this water treatment sewer be in operation and tested prior to there being any approval. Also, that it be required that the Property Owners Association and the developers meet and work out what this expansion is going to mean as far as future assessments, what recreational areas are going to be affected, common area, all of these things that are going to affect the property owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person I have is Robert Smith.
Hello, my name is Robert Smith. I live 145 Pine Lake Drive. And have any of you people there to our community?
Yes.
And I was wondering, is there a law, an ordinance how close you can build to a railroad track in the state of Florida? Because where they're talking about buildings like 100 foot from the railroad track. Is this community a proposed community, a 55 and over community or not? I don't know.
It's part of the original, yeah.
It's like Mark said, you know, this is like a hostile takeover. These people coming in, they don't communicate with us or nothing. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next, I have Frank Jones. Okay, I'll come back to him. Gary, Rozier, yes. Well, I was looking at the signature and I was trying to figure that out.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Rozier. I live at 155 Bayou Drive. And everything they said is true. The water pressure is dismal. But the main thing is the sewage. One of my neighbors, he lives right next to the lift station. And when it goes out, it drains right into the wetlands. It's raw sewage. Oh, I'm sorry. So raw sewage will drain right into the wetlands, you know, and they patch it at best when it does go out. They had to have a pumper truck come out, which they did thankfully enough, do that a week and a half ago. But still, there's two pumps there. They only want to replace one when both of them are bad. You know, I don't trust the developers. I'm on the board. They won't talk to us. So I said everything else has been covered, I think, that I had questions about, except for maybe the egress. You know, we're going to put 210 houses or however many more houses in here that you approve. There's only one entrance and one exit. If a hurricane comes and blocks that, how's the emergency service going to get in there? There's a lot of elderly people living there, and their ambulances in there are quite a lot. If they can't get in, I hate to see what would happen. I think that's... Oh, they had an address of 152 Bayou Drive on the paperwork. That's the paperwork they sent. There's nothing there. It's water and a dock. So I don't know what this is all about. It's kind of weird to me because I live at 155, 152 is right across the street. I'm looking at Murphy's Creek. Gotcha. Power for the sewage plant or the lift station. They don't have power for the lift station if we lose power. So they have one generator, little handheld generator, and if they have to, they'll move it from the water plant to the lift station, back and forth, and to the sewage plant itself. So it's very inadequate. As someone else has said, I'd like to see some of these things in place, the new lift station and or water plant and the new sewage plant, prior to them doing anything, because I don't think we can trust them. And I think that's about it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. And the last card I have is Frank Jones. Good afternoon.
Happy Wednesday. My name is Frank Jones. I live at 114 Bayou Drive, Satsuma. I'm on the HOA board. Again, as been said, folks, I both invite you and challenge you. Please come out. Look at our community. See where we are. I had no idea who this staff was. Now, I'm an engineer from an engineering background, so I have this general clue how stuff works. Okay? I want to know if any of these staff analysis people were there during a rainstorm. Florida has rainstorms. Okay? When you see the sand and the silt running into our current retention ponds, God only knows what's going to happen when they start cutting trees. Trees absorb water. Trees hold the sand. Okay? So I'm just challenging these staff people to come out and look. what really happens. And again, I'm inviting and also challenging you. Please come out. Love to have you. You see it. Okay. I was involved with a road project to repave all of the roads of the existing HOA, Bayou Club. I wrote a very heartfelt and very good and very comprehensive letter to the current owners. And I said, okay, folks, listen, we're going to be spending $150,000 to put in new roads. What are your plans? Can we get together? Can we have a meeting? Can you please tell me what your current plans are, what your future expansion plans are? So maybe we can work at the same time, work together, maybe get our road system better and maybe interface with whatever road system you put in when you develop your property. Mark Sandoval got a very nasty letter from them threatening us, and that my letter was going to go to their attorney. There was nothing threatening. I was just merely saying, listen, how can we work together to do the same thing? Okay? The other thing is, because I am on the board, I get stopped a lot. People ask questions, okay? And one of the questions that I've been asked is, you know, Frank, are these people going to really do anything? Or are they just going to put this plat forward and get all these homes approved so that they now have votes? Because we've been told that if they do and they get these votes, our way of life is basically going to stop. They're going to start raising fees, raising our dues. We've been told this. So I'm just asking you again, how would you feel if you folks lived there? How would you feel if your relatives lived there, if your parents or your brothers or your sisters, you had siblings there? How would you feel if somebody came into them and said, your way of life is basically done? We have erosion problems. We have infrastructure problems. Again, our roads are crumbling. You can't put all of this traffic in here coming in. People say, oh yeah, there is a construction entrance. That looks good on paper, folks, but they have 4 homes that they started a year ago and haven't even finished. And with those 4 homes, we had concrete trucks going over our broken roads. The drivers of these vehicles said basically, blank you don't own us, okay? So we have not seen one bit of compliance, we've not seen one bit of goodwill from these people. Again, please, come out, visit with us, talk to us. Have your staff people talk to us. The staff people evidently did all this work, nobody even met them. Please, give us a break. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to come back forward? Do you want to address any of the questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm texting and I'm actually communicating with the owner as we're doing to kind of answer some of the questions. That's never been a problem. It's not there it is. Now it's on. It wasn't on. Now can you hear me? All right. The erosion problems and drainage problems they have currently is because of a non-maintained system, period. When they first developed this whole PUD, the ponds, both ponds, currently have been dug out. For the current design. The roadways are actually there as trails where they cleared trees, and those roads that are on there right now are currently clear. You can drive through those, although overgrown a little bit in most cases, but you can drive through where they had kind of put those in there. The one current catch basin they're talking about will be upgraded and cleaned out because that's a major hub that goes to the pond, not out to the creek. That was one of my big concerns. I spent a lot of time during the design to address a lot of these issues. So that's the drainage. You've got, he was talking about, they are going to upgrade all the new roads. They're going to repave and do everything on the inside when the whole development plus the new roads are going to have all that stuff. A lot of the erosion concerns right now are because of the pavement being it's still in disrepair, and it's in bad shape. So they're gonna redo all that for whatever reason that in the past owners, developers, HOAs, whatever fees they had didn't cover all of that. So that will be addressed, and he's very concerned with that. That's been a concern since I've been involved for about a year and a half. The water and wastewater side of the house, we had a meeting with Sam Willis. His concern, he is the utility manager with Putnam County. He's the director. We all had a meeting out there. I had a meeting with the fire marshal, Clue, and we all discussed the water and wastewater side. Insufficient. There is not enough in the water to provide the pressure they need. That was one of my big concerns, because just talking with Twofold, who handles the maintenance out there, there's a lot of issues that are planning on getting upgraded. And when within the development side of the house, we are going to address that. So those pumps either will be replaced. There was a lot of issues, and there's 3 wells. There was issues in 2 of the 3 wells with having a lot of sand and sediment in it that was going to be replaced. That was part of the problem. So that will be upgraded. The owner has verbally told me on the phone we are going to address that. The wastewater plant, that is completely getting repaired in place. He had an opportunity here just within the last month, and I discussed it with Sam. There was another package plan very similar to what they had, and he turned it down. It was a significantly less expensive system. I recommended not to use it. It was 10, 15 years old. It was in a warehouse, never used. I said, come on, guys, let's get with current standards. So that's what's going to happen with the wastewater system. The overflows that are taking place is because of that older system. It's just out of disarray. It's kind of, we were all out there, we had staff, it was bad. It's in bad shape. So there's no denying that, but he has verbally told me on the plans, we have to permit this all through DEP, water and the wastewater side when we increase these lines, especially the wastewater system. I've spoke to DEP and the people concerned there, and the current system is the capacity can handle the new section and their section. They have old infrastructure. It's bad. The pumps are bad. I don't know how you guys have pressure at all from what I've seen out there. So that is all getting upgraded within the whole subdivision. So all of the, as far as those concerns, are very valid concerns. But he's agreed, we're going to have that on paper. And I can't speak for the owners in the way that they've treated you guys as far as the homeowners. It sounds like it's been bad. But I think the person that I'm dealing with wasn't the guy that was there. He's actually the attorney that's involved with these and his partners. I just texted him. I said, your partners must have really sent just a bad message. I said, it's bad. It's not funny the way that it seems as though they've been treated. He assures me, and we'll have on paper, that it's going to go ahead and make sure that we upgrade all these systems, and it's going to be taken care of. So I can communicate with him. We need to communicate at least something to the current board and try to work with them better that way. So it sounds like when they first got involved, there was a lot of consultants, and I think I'm the 3rd consultant that's been brought in on this, and they were strong-arming in the beginning, and I think it's all been settled down, and I think that's where they're at. So a lot of those concerns will be addressed during the construction plan phase that will be more detailed on the plans. But they've talked about, I've brought up, as an engineer, ethically, this is substandard. So it will be upgraded, and it will be on the plans in writing when I seal those plans to get constructed. So that's a big deal.
Is the plan is that this is going to be part of the 55 and over community, correct?
I don't think that's in the PUD.
The
That
PUD
part
does
of the
not
PUD?
have an age restriction or anything like that. It can be young folks.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Were there any other questions for the applicant?
I apologize, first of all, my hearing aids aren't tuned in. I'm not on either. Oh, Lord. It's that blue light.
I don't know.
No,
The green light's on. on, you should be
Okay.
on.
Green light. Anyway, my hearing aids aren't really tied into this stuff today, and I'm having a little trouble hearing. But it seems like a lot of what I've heard are problems with the existing areas out there. And I'm trying to figure out why I would go along with approving an expansion of something that's not already working.
Hold on. I can address that.
Well, look, we're better. But anyway, it seems to me like if this were going to be done, the fixes that need to be implemented should be done now, and then perhaps look at an expansion later. I understand the economics of it. Believe me, I've been in that business for a long time. But it's just when you have this many people show up talking about the kinds of problems that they have, I think that's not a really good thing. So I'm going to have a tough time supporting this unless I hear some other things going on.
And I agree to as far as point goes, as everyone, as being in a construction project, the infrastructure has to go in first. So as the infrastructure is going in, these plants will be replaced at the same time. So all of this will come on. There won't be a house built until all the infrastructure is put in. So that's the only way that will happen as far as upgrading the existing system. So those plants, everything be upgraded all concurrently with doing all our stuff. And that's the wastewater plant is the most priority right now because it's unhealthy, just to say the least. So that'll get changed.
I still have some difficulty, though, understanding how these folks be expected to continue with the situation they have now, waiting on these other improvements that, in fact, are going to be best for the new community being developed. I understand that it may help their situation, but it seems to me like their situation ought to be taken care of. Period.
I'm sure it's completely financially. I'm sure it's completely economics, financial. It's all a financial issue. I'm sure, as with everything. So that's where I think they have an opportunity to upgrade and make every part of their life better with this. Because if they don't, then there may be, who knows how long. I don't know their finances. I'm just the engineer on the design of the project. I've brought my concerns. Everyone in here, same thing. I have those concerns as an engineer. Ethically, I have issues with this, and that's why we had the county staff out there. So, on the papers that I seal for these constructions, will be addressed because that's a problem. I agree with the problem out there, and a lot of it's from drainage to the sewer and water. It all needs to be upgraded. So I'm behind.
The other problem that I'm seeing, though, it seems to me like there is a tremendous lack of communication with the people that already live down there. Now, I can assure you, if it were me living down there, I'd be stomping on some doors. And these folks may have already been doing that, but I think there needs to be some type of communication with the current residents, letting know, giving them some timelines as to when this is going to be done, et cetera, et cetera. So,
right, and that's what I was addressing on here. I said, these guys, it sounds like they've been out of hand, so I'll try to be the liaison, try to be a little bit better on that. So that's
Okay, Chris, I think you had. Okay.
In the original ordinance, 1991-40 was approved. What were the requirements for keeping this up, keeping with us at that time?
I would have to refer to the PUD ordinance to see exactly what it says about ongoing maintenance of those systems. I would assume that it has something to do with the developer or the HOA would be in charge of paying for those maintenance.
I don't want to assume, I want to know.
I won't have that answer for you until I can look at the ordinance.
I'm trying to put you in the spot. I'm just trying to say, where did the ball get dropped?
Bob, you know how many different owners we've had on this since, I think Jerry's one built this stuff.
and that's where the snowball started. I believe it reserves. He's responded. He's kind of telling me as far as the HOAs, as far as the reserves have never been maintained to maintain the maintenance. So that's where it's kind of the HOA as far as fees and financially wise. So that's the long and short of it there. No, I sure don't. I think these may be the second or third owners, because Sam Willis was there when the very beginning, in what, 30 years ago. So he was talking to those. I think this might be the third owner.
I have a question.
Any other questions while we're
Tip-
waiting on staff?
Yeah, I have a question. Are you gonna have a different construction entrance than the main entrance to the
As we were
regular
sitting,
residents?
as we were sitting here, I was thinking about that. The opportunity for that would probably be over there by the mailbox, where the mailboxes are, and look,
Okay.
instead of coming through the main entrance. I was thinking about that.
The construction going through the main entrance just tear that place up.
I agree.
Worse.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was looking at that
And I think
myself.
the residents appreciate that part of it.
Yeah. So I was looking at that when I was in there. Typically with a PD, as a lot of you guys know, when they establish a homeowners association, the homeowner association is supposed to get recorded, and within that homeowner association is where the fees are discussed, and all the assessments and allotments per lot have to get paid per month. So that's where, if the board hasn't been steady in their enforcement of that, that could be why, or where, as far as fees and assessments. But we don't, so. So they're not gonna find anything in that PUD about fees or assessments.
But I'd like to ask a question, for the record, Joe Searley, Planning Development Services. Typically in an ordinance or a development agreement affiliated with a PUD, you're not gonna have ongoing maintenance and upkeep provided in that doctrine. That doctrine is going to essentially, it's the law of the land. It's specific to that parcel as far as setbacks, if the level of service of water, roads, whatever, that type of information that you're wondering about would more than likely be in the HOA doctrine. That's the governing doctrine for that neighborhood. It wouldn't be within the ordinance of a PUD. But we checked for you anyway.
So basically, you were saying it's the property owners or home association that's responsible for maintaining those systems?
I not read the HOA doctrine. I wouldn't know what was put in there. That's between development community. That's great. Between the development community and the purchasers.
Okay. Okay, if you're, we're not taking comments from the audience. If you want to come up and make a statement, I guess you can do that, but you'll have to state your name and address.
We okay? Do we need more questions from me, or you guys okay?
Yeah, maybe just hang out. We'll take one member from the audience to tell us how they handle that. If you'll come up and state your name and address again, please.
Mark Sandoval, 132 Pine Lake Drive, Satsuma. The water company is completely separate. It's a whole different corporation. We treat them just as we would, say, Clay Electric. We get a bill from them every month what our water usage is. If that's what the question was, it's just a separate company that provides water and sewer to the Bayou Club, and I think we are probably the only customer for that. It was originally called Buffalo Utilities, but now I think it's called St. Johns River Estate Utilities, LLC.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
Bob, do you know if that LC is the same ownership as?
That I don't know.
Go ahead. Yes, come on. State your name and address, please. And since you haven't spoken before, we will need you to fill out a card when you're done.
Okay. Alexander Hardy, 156 Lake
To the
Margaret
microphone,
Drive.
please, Mr. Hardy.
Okay, sorry about that. Just one quick question. In the PUD, the 1991-20 PUD, it states that I think it's Article 3, the residential unit A, it states that the maximum number of lots that can be developed in Unit A is 140. To date, we have built 102 in that area. So that leaves 38 lots in that area to be developed. And the developer is proposing to develop a further 110. Is this allowed? Thank you.
Okay.
There's a lot of cross-referencing to phases and different, over time it's changed, the terminology's changed. Excuse me. It's the terminology's changed several times. We had Mr. Morgan here explain it to us on on the plat, so you're all more than welcome to come up and look at the plat at some point. But we've checked with a number of units. I believe they're actually shy a few units. And I want to reiterate, this meeting is for the layout and design of entitlements this developer already had. When everyone came and bought their homes in this neighborhood, there was an existing subdivision or PUD conceptual plan with a number of units that were going to be built. So this was forthcoming, and it sounds like you all have had a bad time with the developer, and it's very unfortunate. However, this is entitlements that they've already been given by the Board of County Commissioners back in '91. All they're doing now is we're looking at the design and the layout. We're not yet looking at the plumbing and the stormwater. We're looking at the road layouts, the lot layouts, so the lots can be sold, so these parcels so this area can be developed, but we have a very well-equipped staff to be looking at forthcoming plans, to be looking at this stuff, and staff also hears your concerns, and we'll be keeping an eye out on that. So I just want to make that very clear. This is just for the layout of the subdivision. The entitlements are already there. They're not going away. So I just want to make that really clear to this commission and the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. That's why I'm texting with him now. I told him when I was sitting there listening to everybody kind of share their experience, and that's not how I operate. But then again, I don't have the billions of dollars that most of those guys have. So that's what I'm telling them. Listen, you need some damage control, because if there's been no communication, the gentleman I'm speaking with is Rick R. He, I believe, is the attorney of this group that handles stuff, and he's been my main contact. And he's referred to partners, and I asked him if he came down to that meeting that he was talking about. That guy got cussed out, and they had some friction, and he said he was not there, his partner. So I told him, I said, you need to address this,
Right?
because this is a small community all around here. These people are from, he's in South Florida or in the middle of Florida. These other people are from wherever, so they might be used to strong arming other people, but you don't need to do that here. I've worked in Putnam County a long time, and I've lived almost 20 years as far as engineering wise, and I know how the old system works, and that's the way it just needs to work. Why can't we all get along? We don't need to try to strong arm these people and try to do stuff. We need to try to help and make it better for what's going on. That's all. Okay. So I'm strong with that with this guy now. So if he needs to come down, let his ass come down here and start addressing people at the next meeting and stuff. And let's go ahead and have a community meeting, try to address some of the issues, because he's agreed to me to put on the plans all of their concerns. So as far as I'm concerned, he's been honorable so far, but it's not my money that they're spending.
I understand.
So I think that a lot of those concerns will be addressed if we can get this guy down here, not his partners, figure out what's going on. Because he's a very reasonable person as far as dealing with me, but I don't know his partners.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, we'll allow one more. Last one here. Come state your name and address, and less than 3 minutes, please.
My name is Steve Bergner. I live at 140 Bayou.
I live right next door to the sewage lift station that they're talking about. Now, there's a drainage ditch that runs right alongside of it, and he said it just runs into a pond. Well, that's not true. It leads right into the creek. That drainage ditch will raise and lower with the tide when we get high waters. So it is all connected right in there. So water management should be probably notified that this has been going on for years and they've not done anything about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions for the applicant representative? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Any discussion among the board, or can I'll call for a motion and then we'll have discussion on the motion.
I'll make a motion. I move we recommend to approve subdivision SD 22-008 as it is consistent with the objectives, policies of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan.
Are we going to take the recommendations of staff and add some of the other things in that motion?
We can.
Those were their recommendations, and then
Which ones you want me to add?
these were all the ones they
All right.
recommended.
Well,
You
it's-
can say 1 through 5.
The staff recommendations 1 through 5 is presented to us in our packet to be approved with the water system, roads, before the construction begins.
So, if I understand the motion correctly, you're moving to approve with the 5 things that the staff had recommended related to removing that one lot, upgrading the wastewater system plant, providing copies of the Department of Environmental Protection permits and applications, prior to final plat, a traffic study, and then prior to final plat, a surety bond, plus today they've agreed to incorporate the water system upgrading and paving the roads in the whole development is what they said today, plus all that to be done before construction begins.
So to clarify, you're adding 2 conditions, one related to the water system and one related to paving all of the roads that are existing?
Is that right?
Yes.
That's your motion? And
That's
before
what he kind of
construction
agreed
begins?
to. That's what he kind of agreed to. That's up.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm not sure we want to pave them before we start construction, because they're going to tear up brand new stuff. I recommend that we alter that till after the completion, all the roads be paved. As far as the water and sewer, there's no problem, but if you don't want to pave roads before you build, you want to pave them, because you're just going to waste your time.
So do you want to modify your motion?
Madam Chair, that would be staff's suggestion as well.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. We'll have the roads paved after construction begins. Let the roads be fixed up. And he said he was gonna have a new construction entrance so the other roads wouldn't get damaged so bad, but after construction's finished, then all the roads should be repaired and replaced properly, repaved, whatever needs to be done.
You got all that? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Or,
A second.
okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion with the amendments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, or vice chair votes aye. All opposed?
Aye.
No.
Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's a 5-2 vote. This will be heard by the county commission. Where'd my little paper go?
Right here. May 23rd.
You took it.
No, I didn't.
May 23rd. Perhaps there can be a meeting with the developer and you guys before that to answer any further questions. The county commission is going to make the final determination on this matter at their May 23rd meeting. Thank you all for coming out. And
Thank you.
to recuse myself on this case because I am the listing agent for this property. So
I did notice that.
we are going to have a election for replacement of me.
In that our committee is being chaired by our vice chair. Our chairperson is unfortunately in the hospital, and as I was looking to see exactly what we have to do since our vice chair must recuse herself, according to the Putnam County Code, section 45.905, subsection B, the remaining board members must choose someone to preside over the application that that the vice chair must recuse herself from. But they will only preside over that. They will then return the gavel to the vice chair, who will take her place for any other applicants that we have. So your role is to nominate someone, and we'll go from there. So the floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Joey.
All right. Any other nominations?
I got wiped down on that one. I was gonna nominate Chris, but that's okay. It's all me now.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, is there a motion to close the nominations? Is there a motion to close the nominations?
Yes, I make the motion to close the nomination. I'll second it.
Nominations are closed. Everybody in favor of Mr. Joey being our temporary chairperson, please signify by raising your right hand. That's it. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'll do it.
Mr. Joey, you'll return the gavel after this application is heard.
All right, we're here to hear application REZ 23-000001, application by Jerry Delenbach, CHW Professional Consultants as agent for Albino Gaw and Maria Rivera for a zoning map change from Ag general ag to commercial retail C2 to commercial retail C2 for 9.51 plus minus acres, parcel number 0312270000500180.
Zachary Baker, Planning and Development Services. This application is to amend the zoning map on a piece of property in Putnam County. As you've indicated, the applicants Albino Gall and Maria Riviera with agent Jerry Diedenbach from CHW Professional Consultants. The subject property is 9.51 acres in size, located at the intersection of Pettit Road and US Highway 17 South. There is no 911 address assigned to this property as of yet. Again, PID 0312270000500180. The request is to rezone the property from ag and commercial retail C2 to commercial retail C2. The subject property is 9.51 acres in size, currently vacant. Approximately 1.18 acres of the parcel contains C2 zoning at the intersection of Pettit and US Highway 17. However, the current C2 portion of the property is not large enough to support the proposed use. Mixed uses surrounding the parcel containing social clubs, gas stations, retail stores, a restaurant, single-family residences, agriculture, silviculture, vacant lands. The vacant lands contain commercial zoning designations, anywhere from commercial 1 to commercial 4, and agriculture zoning designations. The subject parcel and surrounding parcels contain a commercial future land use designation. The initial request indicated a rezone to commercial 2 to encompass 2.6 acres. We as in staff, spoke with the agent and had a discussion that while we would be able to support that request, it would be a better option for everyone involved to rezone the entire parcel to commercial. As it stood, the agriculture zoning designation was incompatible and inconsistent with the commercial future land use. The agent and I'm assuming the applicant both obliged and changed the application to include the entire parcel. So you have an aerial image of the subject parcel. You can see the majority of it is some white sand. There's a power easement that runs along the west side of the property. Again, the future land use here is commercial. Everything north and west of that property is commercial. Here's the mixture of the different zoning designations. Again, a small portion of the property is already zoned commercial 2. The proposed zoning, that portion of the parcel containing the C2 zoning designation would allow for retail sales and general use. The proposed development requires more C2 land than what currently exists. Per section 45-82 of the Land Development Code, the commercial retail C2 zoning designation allows for the requested commercial retail store use by right and aligns with the commercial future land use classification. The proposed development will be reviewed by the Development Review Committee to ensure appropriate site design if a rezone is approved. If the development will be accessed by Pettit Road, the developer will be required to pave a portion of Pettit Road in accordance with Putnam County roadway standards. It's only to the limits of disturbance for that project, so they will not have to pave the entire frontage of Pettit Road if the proposed use does not encompass the entire frontage of Pettit Road. Staff finds that the proposed rezoning from Ag and C2 to C2 is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted comprehensive plan, is allowed in the future land use category, is not anticipated to adversely affect the orderly development of the adjacent and surrounding properties, as the property is subject to the development standards of the Land Development Code, and it meets the locational requirements of the C2 zoning district provided in the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from Ag and C2 to C2. I'll take any questions you have.
Questions for Zachary or staff? agent here. Would you come up and state your name and if you want to speak about anything or clarify anything that you don't think that was clarified? And I apologize for messing up your last name.
That's okay. My name is Jerry
They just threw me in on this. You know, you just seen that. They threw me in the deal.
I was going to say, welcome, Mr. Acting Chair here. My name is Jerry Diedenbach. I'm a professional land use planner. I'm glad the room got quieter here.
Yes.
I promise this will be the easier one of your evening. I do have just a brief presentation. I think Zach did a great job of summarizing the request. I click that. I do have, if I may approach, you can have paper copies. I don't know if it comes through on your monitors all clearly. Pass those down. Two more. Brought 7. So our request is really straightforward and very simple. We have a small piece of property that has an inconsistent zoning classification for the underlying future land use map. And as Zach showed you, the property is largely sand and has a power line easement on the western side of it. As you can see in the picture here, the entire property has commercial land use, but up in the front, it's got like this little horseshoe shape of just a couple little bits of commercial zoning. And so the application is seeking to unify this, and we did agree with staff that it would be helpful to make the whole property consistent. So what I'm showing here on the PowerPoint is really that change. It's going to leave the commercial land use in place, but go from the partial commercial and ag to having the parcel be fully consistent with the underlying future land use classification. So with that, I'd like to conclude. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. We're very glad staff recommends approval on this, and we hope that your proposed motion recommends that the Commission also approve this small-scale rezoning. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Jerry?
What's that little slither there on that, back on that map that said there's one that's, that little, right there on 17, it says ag? At the bottom.
Those will be my questions.
Right here on.
I'm glad somebody else asked.
So there's a little out parcel there.
Okay.
Yeah, up in that very front, you see it? Yeah, there's a little tiny out parcel there.
Okay. In other words, you don't own it.
That's correct. Do not own it.
Mr. Hancock, it's a .04 acre parcel that houses a billboard.
It does what?
It houses a billboard.
Okay. Okay. Just curious. Saw it was out.
All right, thank you, Jerry.
My pleasure, sir.
Is there, Maria, you want to speak on this?
I'm very glad that something is going to be able to help in the development of Putnam County. So this land, actually that small parcel, somebody else owned it. We don't even know. So, but when we bought the property, it's from another Putnam County resident who had cancer and so anyway, I hope this will help in the development because it's a retail business. Because it's facing a Moose Lodge and there's also a gasoline station. So that area will develop. And the Petit Road goes into a lot of houses. I was surprised that behind that road, there's a lot of houses. So I hope it will be approved and it will help for develop the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience for or against this project would like to speak at the microphone? There is none. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion to accept or deny.
I move we recommend approval to rezoning REZ 23-0000001 as it is consistent with the goals and objectives and policies of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If there is no more discussion, we will take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Those that oppose, motion carries. I will now turn over the meeting back to Vice Chair Aaron Fortner.
All right, thank you.
My hearing aid heard that.
Okay, the next case is PUD 23-000002.
Good afternoon.
No.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is agenda item 3. This is a major modification to the Trails End Outdoor PUD that was approved, I believe, back in 2005 and amended in 2020. This major modification is to remove a 2-acre parcel from the existing PUD and revert that section, that 2-acre parcel, back to agricultural, which it previous was, and to add 26 additional RV sites. The applicant is Keith Valentine, who is present here with us today. The parcel is a 36.9-acre parcel located at 145 Willis Road, 163 Willis Road, and 162 Willis Road, located off US 19. The additional 26, I believe there's 18 sites out there currently. I may be wrong, maybe 16. Anyway, the total, there's, I believe, 16 or 18 additional, I'll get to that. There's 18 existing RV sites out there, and he's proposing 26 for a total of 44. So the PUD consists of 4 separate parcels, totaling 36.90 acres. If you were to look in the GIS maps, there is an error. There's an additional 3 parcels labeled PUD that I initially thought was included in this, but it is not. So if there's any confusion there, please feel free to ask any questions. The existing Trails End Outdoor PUD was approved to allow the following uses: 18 RV sites, 10 primitive camping sites, 3 single-family residential units, resource-based and activity-based recreational uses, events including weddings, reunions, and retreats, equestrian uses, agricultural uses, and a commercial landscape business, which was approved through a special use permit some time ago. The 2 parcels that are totaling 3.14 acres are within the rural residential future land use classification, while the remaining 33.76 acres are within the agricultural future land use classification. So once again, the applicant is proposing to remove a 2.15 acre parcel that's within the rural residential land use classification from the PUD and revert it back to agricultural, and leaving a total of 34.75 acres within the PUD. And additionally proposing to add 26 RV sites for a total of 44 overall. Further site design review will be completed at the DRC process after this is after your recommendation or approval. Here is an aerial of the parcel. As you can see, it's surrounded by predominantly agricultural to the north and west, with some residential to the east and south. As you can see, this one parcel, or there's actually 2 parcels there to the right. That's the rural residential portion. It's a very small portion. The zoning is all PUD. I've excluded that portion of the PUD, that's zone PUD, that purple area. That's, I think, was erroneously amended on our maps and wasn't supposed to be. Here's a wetland map. There's very little wetlands on the parcel. Staff is recommending approval of the request for the major modification as described in the attached ordinance and exhibits, and is here to answer any questions as well as the applicant.
I did have one question. Let me just find it. It was on the analysis on page 6. It says it's about the traffic. It says Willis Road should be monitored as to its need for maintenance. If it's determined that increased need for maintenance of Willis Road is as a result of this, a cost share agreement between owner operators should be considered. Is that like a requirement, or is that just saying it should be considered?
Yes, so it would be assessed at the DRC process when they come in and do the RV pads. We would then assess the traffic impacts on Willis Road.
Okay, thank you. So the applicant is here to speak. Were there any other questions for staff before? Okay, thank you.
My name is Keith Valentine. I'm at 163 Willis Road in Hollister. I was born and raised here in Putnam County, been resident here, and was raised out on Circle Bar Ranch, just through the woods there. 27,000 acres, and of course, I was gone from college and part of my time in Central Florida. Wanted to come home to Putnam County, so I came back to Putnam County, and it's been great for me. We have met all the requirements that we were asked 2 or 3 years ago. Staff recommended that I change it to a PUD. I have a ranch with horses and cattle, and the only way that we could involve residentials was to change it to a PUD. So we all met, and they asked me if I would do that. So we worked through it, and we did make it, and I appreciate y'all letting us do that. We've stuck to all the rules and regulations that we've been asked. We've worked hard. Putnam County has no lodging, as you well know. West Putnam County has no lodging out there, so our West Putnam County people were glad to have us out there. We help and put people in from fishing the reservoir and camping and coming in, to where this last year in February we had to save all 18 of our spots for the bass tournament, the Elite Series. People came in, media came in, and they stayed at our RV park, and it was a blast. We had a good time, and it worked out really good. We've stuck with the land use code. I still want to keep it as my ranch with cattle and horses. I want to keep it mostly rural like we are, and have the family life of the ranch life that we do have. We've had people come from all over the world and stay in our old farmhouse there and come in with their RVs from all over the United States and stayed with us, families. The whole idea behind my plan with Trails and Outdoors was to make family memories through family activities, and it's been great. It's great looking out there and seeing these families participate together, all together, that come in and kick ball and just having a good time, and it's a family atmosphere. We have limited everybody that comes in, that their RVs have to be at least 10 years or newer. I do not want air conditioning units hanging out windows, and we have worked hard at keeping it an upscale RV park. The good thing about it is we've brought a lot of bed tax into Putnam County. They've called me on the Tourist Development Council, and they use us as an example of what can be expected with bed tax, people coming in. The other good thing about my operation that I have is we have just good people coming in. We want to keep it to that level. The good thing about it is probably 20 to 30% of the people that have came into our RV park is looking to buy property here. So they come at a short term to hold here to get their property that they're looking at to buy, and so it's helped bring real estate into Putnam County, buyers coming in, especially for the restaurants in our area. We do care for everything that goes on in our part of the neighborhood and county. We love it. I appreciate y'all letting us come back in and letting us get thus far. We stay full 90% of the time. We do have some openings, and I just need more room. But we will hold it to the standard that we've got. Good, clean people, not run down mobile homes, nothing like that. So we'll keep it at the level to have good, clean people there. I care about my neighbors. I do. I might have some that don't want us back there, but I will do all I can, and I always will, being good to them and nice to them and killing them with kindness. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there
questions?
Any questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for this proposal? Or against? Okay, seeing none, we'll come back to the board for discussion. I will say, Mr. Valentine, when I did the site visit, everything is very well maintained out there. And I think last time we had quite a few of your neighbors that that didn't want to see an expansion, but I don't see them here today, so that probably speaks to the fact that you are doing what you said you would do and keeping it up and not creating a nuisance to the neighborhood, so. Yes, we'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of PUD 23-0000002, Trails In Outdoor, as presented by the planning staff.
So I have a motion and a second for approval. I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This will go to the County Commission on May the 23rd. Thank you. That was our last case. The other one is postponed until a later date. So I need to see, is there any,
I recommend we approve the board meeting minutes from the last meeting. I don't remember when it was.
have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, minutes are approved unanimously. Is there any other old business? Any new business? Nobody's leaving or anything, right, from the county at this meeting? It seems like it's every other meeting. Somebody's leaving. I don't know why you guys are standing. We are not adjourned yet.
We are.
All right, so we will adjourn. I'll have a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
I just wanted to make sure Jerry was awake on there. I didn't mean to start you, Jerry.
I don't know. For the other one? They were getting us up sheet tonight.
I got excited.